Hi everyone, welcome to Green Tech Southwest. Sorry we get a little bit later started today than usual, but don't worry, I'll be able to run through all the intros quite quickly. It's great to have you all here. We're really looking forward to today's talks. We've got two fantastic talks lined up for you today. What a treat. So yeah, we'll be getting started as usual. We'll be bang on about past. So just wanted to quickly run through some housekeeping things to make sure you get the most out of today's talks. So yeah, feel free to introduce. My name's Ellen. I'm one of the event organisers. Feel free to introduce yourselves into the chat in the comment section. So where you're tuning in from, what you do, what brings you to our event. You know, is this the first time you're joining us? Anything like that. We love having a chatty feed and everyone, yeah, just getting to know each other basically makes us feel like we're all a bit more in person. There'll be several things sort of popping up throughout today's event, which makes it more interactive and give the audience an opportunity to give themselves a little bit of a shout out as well. So we'll be doing something called 60-second intros. A lot of you will be very familiar. But basically, if you've got anything that you want to talk to us, talk to the community about, whether that's a project you're working on or something related to today's topics, or an event that you think that might be of interest to other people, let us know. We'll invite you up for 60 seconds and you can do a quick fire introduction and let us know what you're about. We'll also be having a Q&A session at the end of today's talks as well. So any questions that you've got for the speakers, there'll be an ask a question section, or there's an ask a question button, I think now to sort of like the right hand or left hand side of the screen as opposed to below where it was before. Do let me know if I'm wrong. We are still getting used to the new look and feel of Crowdcast. So yeah, just make any questions that you've got for the speakers, just pop them in there and we'll make sure we'll put them to the speakers. You can also upvote and make sure that your favourites get heard basically. Also will be some polls popping up throughout the talk as well. This is just a bit of fun seeing what people know about the topic already. But yeah, they'll be sort of popping up. So yeah, don't be alarmed if something just suddenly appears on your screen. Hi Corinne, thanks for introducing yourself, and Lauren, of course, an honorary member. So great to have you all here, and yeah, really glad that you're introducing yourself and again, yeah, sharing what you're up to. Just want to say a quick thanks to our sponsors as well, our sponsors Crystal and the Sustainable Business Programme as part of University of Bath and Set Squared. We couldn't be doing these events without you, so yeah, really grateful for your support on that.
Ellen,
so yeah, I think we will be. Oh,
yeah.
Hello. There we go.
Yeah, it's 12:31.
Exactly. Yeah. Rattled it through.
So, yeah, you did a great job, and I think we're ready to kind of kick off the event officially, if that's okay with you.
Sounds good.
Great. Okay, so let me pop some slides up whilst and we'll get proceedings going, kind of like for sure. Okay. Slides are on their way. Fabulous. All right. Well, Ellen was filling in just before we officially kick off proceedings there, just to kind of manage the silence and give you all a little bit of a taster of what's to come. So now we officially kick off today's event with first and foremost, a huge big welcome to everyone. Welcome to our Green Tech Southwest event. As Ellen was just mentioning there, we have a couple of sponsors. We have AdLib, Crystal Hosting, and also the Bath Set Squared programme, which has now finished. And Laurent, I saw your posts on LinkedIn, I think last week, showing your sort of your sort of finish celebrations for the programme. So congratulations on a really successful programme. So I'll move on to the next slide. So first and foremost, for everyone that's joined us here today, we want to say a big thank you for being part of our community and for joining us. Myself, Mike and Ellen, we are co-founders and co-organisers of Green Tech Southwest. So just to give you an idea of who we are and what our role in all of this is, that's us. We also have a few volunteers that help us run Green Tech Southwest, especially our hybrid events, which have an in-person element based in Bristol as well. So we want to say a big thank you to Joe, Sam and Tariq for being ever present and super helpful behind the scenes as well. Now, if you're first timer to Green Tech Southwest, Let us tell you in just a few minutes exactly what we're all about. So we are a volunteer-led organisation, and our aim is to showcase a variety of people using tech to solve different sustainability problems using ingenious methods. That's really our first and foremost aim. We also have a really strong aim around supporting a local community. So the clue is in the title, right? We're called Green Tech Southwest. We are based in the southwest of the UK. Mike and Ellen are in Bristol. I'm a little bit further into the country in Somerset. However, even though we are based in the southwest, we do have an open and inclusive ethos. So even if you're not based in the southwest, even if you're not based in the UK, you are super welcome to be part of our community, and we are really, really glad to have you here today. We've had people from all over Europe join us. We've also had people joining from Canada, from the US as well. So you're all super welcome, and we're chuffed that you found the time to join these events. If you're interested in knowing a bit more about us behind the scenes, we also have a code of conduct and a constitution. Really, the code of conduct is this simple. It is be nice to each other. We know that sustainability can sometimes be a very emotive topic, and for good reason. But what we ask is that you always give the other person, or give each other, the benefit of the doubt, and assume that everybody's intentions are coming from the best place possible. So you may have a difference of opinion in how to do things, or why certain things should be done over others, and that's good and that's healthy, and that is part of what we live to create here in this community is a dialogue and a way of sharing ideas. Well, we just ask you always to keep it respectful and keep it kind. That's really our only rule of thumb. If you're interested in accessing any of our past speaker content, Ellen, the fantastic Ellen here, does a write-up after every single event, and Ellen does them very quickly. So we have the video, we have the speaker slides, and we have any links that get shared in the chat. So please do share links as we talk. If you know about as the talks happen, if you know about something interesting or want to share something relevant to the topic, please do. We collect it all and summarize it on our website, which is a very, very handy resource. So now this leads us to the start of the session, where we want to introduce a little bit of a networking element. We always run this at the start of all of our events. They are the community 60-second intros. Now, as the name suggests, it's an opportunity for anyone who's listening in today to come on screen and very quickly, within 60 seconds, share something, such as a project or an initiative that you might be working on that you want to tell people about. You might have a request for help or guidance. We've got a lot of knowledgeable people here in our community. When people have come on screen to ask for help, it's always been met with like a deluge of, right, try this, try that, here's this, here's that. So it's worth coming on if you want to share something. Or maybe you just want to come on and share a knowledge or resource you've come across recently. So there's all sorts of reasons why you might want to come on screen and be a part of this event and do a community 60-second intro. Now, if you do want to come on screen, please let us know in the comments. I'm going to point that way. I hope they're over there. Sometimes they're over there. You never quite know. Maybe they're up there, maybe they're down there. But you'll find the comments in the chat somewhere on your screen. If you'd like to come online and to have your mic and camera enabled, please let us know in the chat now. So here we have the tumbleweed moment. Is anybody going to be feeling brave today, or is everyone feeling, maybe after a busy bank holiday weekend, to be more in listening mode? But we would love to have a few people come on screen. Yes. Oh no, Ellen, that's you. I thought you said I'd like to come on screen.
Go on, Ellen.
Gosh.
Okay. No, Ellen, don't worry. We won't put pressure on you. Laurent to the rescue. Laurent is going to come on screen and come and introduce himself. So Laurent, thank you for defeating the tumbleweed there. We can always appreciate that. And Gildas as well. All right, cool. So we've got two lined up. So Mike has got his admin face on there. It's funny. You can tell when someone's sort of looking for buttons and looking for things to click on. So Mike is going to invite you, Laurent, to the screen now. Hopefully you'll get a little notification pop up saying, would you like to join? And you should have a an accept button. It used to be green. I'm not sure if it's changed colour. But hopefully Laurent will be joining us any moment now. And Gildas will do the same with you as well. In fact, Mike might be able to invite you on in the background, and then we'll just...
Yeah, I'll do that.
Can you?
Aha, Laurent, hello. So Mike will...
Can you hear me? See me? It's still loading on my side, but I don't know.
Well, you're like the voice of God at the moment. We can hear you, but we can't see you. So Mike's, maybe the loading thing will just sort itself out, and then we'll bring you up.
Gildas has got an invite as well, so hopefully you'll both appear shortly. Maybe if you stop sharing slides, Hannah, I'm not sure.
Okay.
New version might be difficult.
Okay, I can see Gildas, but still no Laurent.
Okay, so maybe Gildas, we'll bring you on first, and then Laurent, hopefully your loading thing will sort itself out. There we go. Gildas, look at you. You're big. You have the screen. You have the
looking rather large after a bank holiday. Yeah. Cool. So hi. I've just first time I've come along. I've known Abdib and sort of run the company for years. So I spotted you had a green meetup. We've kind of joined. Always like to be green. Always like to be kind of saving. As in, we've always liked to be doing the right thing in whatever we do. So that's where we've joined a B Corp journey, which is surprisingly hard work. Unfortunately, I'm not doing most of it, but blimey, hats off to anybody who's got B Corp. So we've just going through the assessment process. So yeah, a bit about us anyway. So we're Dialer Geek. We're an IT company. Been going for 16 years, based in central Bristol. Got 11 staff. We're about to become a IASME assessment body for Cyber Essentials. And yeah, we like working with companies. We've got quite a lot of green tech companies in our portfolio of companies we support, which we love because that's what we look out for and find people doing new and innovative things like plastic filtering, things like battery technology. So there's quite a lot of high-tech companies we've got that we support that are doing excellent work. So yeah, it's good. Alongside other community-based organisations, we've got one that supports Bristol refugees in Bristol. So Bristol Refugee Rights, they're a fantastic company. So yeah, they do amazing work, a charity as such, but they do amazing work helping people new to the country find their feet. So yeah.
Fantastic. Gildas, so good of you to come on screen and tell us about your work. Please do share your contact details if you want anyone to get in touch with you. Maybe your company website for Dialer Geek in the chat.
Just Google Dialer Geek, it'll come up.
Great.
Always happy to have a chat. There's a little link if you want to book in and say, if you want to book in, have a chat and see where you are with IT and things. So yeah, cool. Always welcome to have a chat. Even if you don't want to buy anything, I'm happy to have a chat with people. Something different. It might be B Corp, might be whatever.
Fantastic. Cool. Well, thank you again. So good to meet you. And a big welcome to you for coming to Green Tech Southwest. Cool. All right. So Gildas, we are going to
swap
minimize
over.
You.
Yes.
Yeah. Mike is on the case. And Laurent, we can see you on video now. And I think we can hear you too. So we're just going to bring you on, Laurent. Thanks for being patient. There we are. We have you. You're big on the screen.
Yes, I can say I'm being on the screen and in my room, so yeah. Thanks Anna for the introduction as well. Before, that was really nice. And yes, we did have the end of program event last Thursday, where we had, as we've seen, a successful program as well over the last 2 years, and that's what I wanted to say. But it's also not the only things it's not because our program ended that Set Square will end. So there's still opportunity for startup and SME to be supported by Set Square. So Set Square is an incubation center, a partnership of 6 universities, Bath, Bristol, Cardiff, Exeter, Southampton, and Surrey. And we can support a company to start also initiate conversation with academics or students for any student or academic project. So feel free to contact me if you're interested. And I will be happy to maybe signpost you to the right person within Set Square to continue a conversation about innovation and support for funding and investment as well. So yeah, that's it for me now.
Amazing. That was perfectly timed as well, Laurent. Very.
I'm
Yeah, I
used
know
to
you're a
Hannah.
pro.
I think I'm used to Hannah.
You're
I
a
think
pro.
too many time in front of this screen, like to know the
Yeah.
60 seconds.
You got it down. All right. Well, you know the drill, Laurent. Please do share any links in the chat. We've got a good audience here today. And wishing you the best of luck as well with everything you've got going on at the moment.
Thank you.
Cool. All right. Thank you,
Bye.
everyone. Cool. Laurent, thanks so much. So maybe we'll leave it there because I don't think anyone else has said that they want to do a 60-second intro. And we do like to run a tight ship and start on time. And we are almost at 1:45 when our speakers are going to come on. So Mike, I won't reshare the slides to introduce Mike in, to introduce Keven and Neil, because too much going on today, isn't there? But if you would like to bring them to the screen now.
Yeah, I'll just inviting Neil now. So.
Fantastic. So Neil, we're going to be inviting you to the screen. Hopefully that should be nice and straightforward. Oh, was that Neil already? Yes.
I think so. Yes.
Excellent. So Mike, I'm going to hand over to you.
Great stuff. Thank you, Hannah. Hi, Neil. How are you doing?
Very good. Thank you, Mike.
Great stuff. Thank you very much for coming along and agreeing to do this talk. We've been wanting to put on a plastic themed event for a long time, and we've known about Kelpi for just as long. So it's really great to have you on. Neil is the founder of Kelpi, who are now in Bristol, moved over from Bath. So yeah, very much looking forward to your talk. Just before I hand over to Neil, just a quick reminder, even though Crowdcast has changed quite a bit, there is, if you hover on the very far right-hand side, there is an icon that says Q&A. And if you can pop any questions in for Neil and also for Keven, who we'll bring on straight after Neil, we'll do all the questions combined. We'll bring them both back on screen at the end, and we'll see how many we can get through. Yeah, I'll hand over to you, Neil. Thank you so much again. And yeah, if you'd like to share your slides, I will hang around until we're all good.
I will. Thank you very much, Mike. Just before I share my slides, I'll just give you a little glimpse of Kelpi headquarters. That's our main lab, one of 2 laboratories that we have here in Bristol. And that's where I'm speaking to you from today. I've now, of course, got to fill for a moment while I load the slides. So hopefully, Mike, are you seeing those?
Yeah, it looks good.
Even better, you're seeing them full screen now.
Yes, yeah, all good.
Great, thank you very much.
Thanks, Neil.
So Mike and I started talking about what we could focus on today a little while back, and it was really on the combination of the plastic pollution crisis that we face and the opportunity for technology to really play its part in addressing that. And we do need solutions, because right now we have a huge carbon problem, and I'm going to rely on you, Mike, if my screen's just disappeared. I think it's probably still good. We've got a huge carbon problem. The amount of the world's oil being used to make fossil fuel plastics is already far higher than we can accommodate to avoid the huge contribution that will make to the challenge in facing the 1.5 degree temperature increase. But look at the potential increase as other sectors decarbonize, so a greater proportion of oil will gradually take up the slack, and by 2050, 20% of all global oil will be used just to make plastics. And already there's a huge carbon emissions problem around the production of plastics. But that too is set to go up. By 2050, greenhouse gas emissions from plastic production will reach a staggering 13% of global emissions at 2.8 billion metric tons. And of course, it's at the beginning of life that we start to see the problem, at the end of life, where the plastic waste pollution problem really comes visibly into its own. And right now, only 9% of plastics worldwide are recycled. A much higher percentage are incinerated, albeit with the idea of energy recovery associated with them, but a staggering 40% end up in landfill, and 32% littering our environment washed out through watercourses eventually into the ocean. And there too, the numbers are only going up. By 2050, there will be more plastic than fish in the sea. Current estimates of 170 trillion pieces of plastic in the world's oceans are set to increase 2.8-fold by 2040, contributing to that number. And it's a myth to consider that recycling is a complete answer. Of course, it has its role to play, but only 14% of all our plastics globally are even collected for recycling. And some of that is lost as the process takes place. Just 2% fully contributes back in to replace virgin feedstock in plastic production processes. And where we see those figures then brought writ large is in the leakage that we can see in the environment, in the Pacific garbage patch and the other plastic gyres worldwide that are causing such terrible problems. We found microplastics at the top of Mount Everest, in the pack ice in the Arctic, and even in mother's baby milk. This is a problem that at the moment is proliferating. We have no real solutions, the forever materials on which we become so hooked. There is, of course, hope. Already, we as consumers are demanding more sustainable packaging that doesn't harm our environment. And businesses are increasingly responding by building in the elimination of fossil fuel plastics targets into their corporate strategies. And those businesses and their corporate strategies are what's now driving a wave of change in new biomaterial, bioplastic, and alternative solutions, most relevantly and particularly in single-use plastic packaging, where the problem is its most visible. So Kelpi starts its solution with seaweed. Why? Because making biomaterials from seaweed avoids any use of fossil fuels themselves, and any use of land or fresh water or fertilizer. Seaweed itself produces a huge potential solution as it sequesters huge amounts of carbon dioxide as it grows, and in doing so deacidifies the ocean and provides a rich habitat for fish stocks to replenish. So from that seaweed, then Kelpi uses extracts, using the right chemistry and building in the kind of bonds that you would see naturally to devise our solution, which is coating paper, cardboard, and fibre with a Kelpi coating. This coated material then is already certified recyclable, but probably more importantly, it actually is more likely to be recycled. So compared to plastic food container recycling rates of around 10% in the UK, and that's higher than in many countries, we see paper and card packaging recycling rates of around 70%. So when you apply that to the global percentage of all plastic waste recycled, you can already see so much more an effective recycling opportunity here. But beyond recycling, where the material is littered, where it does end up in watercourses, our material is marine safe. It will break down completely in less than a year, biodegrading with no toxins and no microplastics left behind. But in many cases, that's much less than a year, depending on the marine and sea conditions. Our material is also compostable. That means that if put into home or industrial compost, it can break down, again, completely, no microplastics and no toxins left behind, in around or less than 56 days, again, depending on the particular conditions in which home or much more quickly industrial compost is. So from this packaging material, we've created a set of smart materials. We look upon it as a platform that allows us to be able to flex our particular barrier properties to meet the specific requirements of our clients. In many cases, that allows us to match or even sometimes exceed the performance of fossil fuel plastic packaging, where we combine the different barriers required by food and drink, cosmetics and personal care clients, barriers to water and water vapor, to oxygen, to acidic food like fruits, to greasy content like skin creams or personal care products, to those with enzymes whose activity would often break down biomaterials prematurely. That would be an example of laundry liquids, and surfactants, again, soaps and detergents, which present particular challenges to many biomaterial solutions. But it's the water barrier that we keep coming back to. That's what has made Kelpi's position in the market unique. It's the big challenge, if you like, for biomaterials, that you can create a coating, a paper and card that is on the one hand able to present the right kind of water barrier to preserve its contents, but on the other hand, when washed out to sea or even in river watercourses, still breaks down fully and completely. And that's been the ability of Kelpi to focus on where the market has already recognised our unique solution. That's how we're already able to start to engage with the world's largest brands in food and drink and in cosmetics and personal care, the two sectors on which we focus. So our business model is also different. We focus on collaborative innovation partnerships. So rather than simply putting a product, a one and done solution, if you like, onto the table, we instead work collaboratively with our clients to demonstrate how our material can keep shampoo and conditioner contained and yet still ensure that it's fully liquid as required. That it can develop paper and card packaging that works in humid environments like in bathrooms or kitchens and still keep dried food dry and wet contents wet. We've developed solutions that will handle temperatures from boiling water to industrial refrigeration and freezers that contain the kind of acidic and greasy foods and creams that present challenges to many other materials, but critically that is heat sealable with a strong bond so that we can use our materials in flow packaging and other heat sealed environments. This is what then has enabled us to be able to work in collaborative co-development projects with clients right across Europe and Africa, and increasingly now initially in the US and in Asia too. So I'm going to confess I don't know a great deal about ice hockey, but I have heard one wonderful quote from a Wayne Gretzky, the absolute legend of ice hockey, who on being asked the secret of his success said that whilst other ice hockey players skate to where the puck is, he skates to where the puck will be. And we use that metaphor here in the team to focus our solution on where requirements will be in 2025. In particular, looking at legislation like the European Union's Single-Use Plastics Directive that defines what sort of plastics will be permitted at that stage and how increasingly legislation will be brought to bear to reduce demand for single-use fossil fuel plastic packaging. That allows us to be able to continue to develop our food contact material or FCM regulatory approval ready to go to market in 2024 and to continue to prove our scale-up capability in working with current production machinery rather than requiring any retooling for our clients to be able to use the solution. So right now, this enables us to be able to already propose how we can, from 2025, meet the demands of some of the world's largest clients with which we're currently in discussion. Using our smart platform that allows us to use the time between now and then to continue to dial up or down on specific material features and capability, like the ability to address particularly challenging product groups and containment. So finally, we're at Green Tech Southwest. We're a proud member of the Southwest Green Technology community. We're a small growing team. In fact, already this week, we've got one new member of the team, bringing us up to 15 here in our base in Bristol, the Science Creates Old Market facility. As Laurent mentioned previously, we were delighted to be supported by Set Squared in our initial stages in particular, as we emerged from the Bath University collaboration where we started. And it's today now that we can address the needs of clients worldwide, right across Europe and Africa, from our base in Bristol, proudly taking the message about tech sustainability out to a global client base and global audience. So that's the end of my presentation. I think I've failed in coming up very slightly short, a minute short of time, but I hope that's given you a good introduction to Kelpi, and I'll look forward to hearing any questions from you after Kevin's talk.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Neil. Yeah, really amazing stuff that you're doing with Kelpi, and we're all very much looking forward to seeing what's next for the business. And just mind-blowing stats, but yeah, just so great to see someone locally, you know, doing incredible things to counter that. So yeah, round of applause in the chat if you can find the emoji. I think there are some questions starting to gather, which I'm sure will continue, and we'll bring you back on after Kevin's chat, as you mentioned, to get through those. But yeah, thank you so much, Neil, for coming along and telling us all about Kelpi. It just looks absolutely brilliant. So yeah, look forward to chatting to you after Kevin's talk. So I'm now I'm going to invite Keven on screen, so I'll let you go for a bit, Neil, and then you'll get an invite to come back after that's happened. So thank you very much. Great stuff. Just bear with me a second while I find Keven. Okay, invite's on the way, Keven. Hello. Hi, Keven. How you doing?
I'm good. Just getting the share slide sorted.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for joining us. So Keven, as you'll have seen from the write-up, is inventor and designer at Pinweld, which again is another great local business that we followed for quite some time. And Keven, I know you've come to a few of our events before and talked about Pinweld briefly in the chat. So great to finally have you on. So yeah, same again, folks. If you want to keep adding your questions, it is the one with the question mark in it, the Q&A on the far right-hand side. Not quite sure if it has an upvote thing like the old Crowdcast, but we'll try and get through as many of the questions as we can. And yeah, great. Over to you, Keven. I will disappear and leave you to it.
Oh, so you see my slide?
Yes, yeah, we can see that.
Wonderful. Right. Good afternoon, everyone. Right, Keven from Pinweld. So yeah, I'm just going to give you a fleeting overview of what we're up to and why we even exist. So doing what I couldn't do yesterday. Wow, God, talk about inspirational quote there. Wow, I mean, but come on, fill the gaps then. So here we go. Repairing what I couldn't repair yesterday and making what I couldn't repair yesterday. Pinweld came up with a piece of equipment that allows people, anybody in fact, from engineers to just artisans, to repair or join plastics, typically the ones that resist glues, etc., ones that tape doesn't stick to, all the semi-crystallines, polypropylenes, polyethylenes, things like that, all those the bits that you find broken and you think, well, surely somebody can glue it. But here's some background. We started with the invention. It came to the attention of some rather influential people through universities and the World Institute, TWI, there over in Cambridge. And we went through and enrolled and worked with Laurent's team at Set Squared to join the sustainability the group there. That helped us move in the right direction, taking advice, because we knew we had something. We knew we had something that you couldn't currently do, but what to do with it, how to take it to form a product, how to monetize. Horrible word, but yeah, that's what people want nowadays. So what is Pinweld? The ability to accurately and reliably join semi-crystalline thermoplastic. Yeah, boring. What does it mean for me? I think the quote over there in Manufacturing magazine was fantastic. Advanced manufacturing. Welding technology set to revolutionize how plastic components are designed, manufactured, and repaired. Wow, something we invented. If we can do that, then fantastic. So that's what we're all about. We're working on the designs to make the technology to allow people to use this kit. Get designers designing new equipment, get people using it in different ways, think outside the box, etc., etc. So some comments. A sewing machine for plastic. People didn't quite grasp what we were trying to do. They assumed because it can't be that new, it must be just a variation, it must be an incremental improvement over some existing tech. No, it's completely different. It's essentially a sewing machine for plastics, or the opposite of a jigsaw, one person said. You drive this controlled device, very low energy device, 30 watts or less, along two pieces of the right plastic. The AI on board will update the controls until it forms a weld. You have a weld. You've that's it, simple as. So, but people couldn't grasp that. Well, that can't be it. Surely there must be more to it than that. So we came about. We needed to find a market where we could get the figures together, get like a just run through the systems first to prove that it was of worth. Because people say, well, if it breaks, we throw it. Okay, this bumper you're looking at on this Mercedes, you might want to throw it, but it's approximately £3,000. We won't even go into the sustainable element of it. £3,000 in hard cash to replace for the sake of a couple of cracks. So yeah, the industry, the UK automotive repair industry, can't do this. We went to the highest level. We went to their scientific advisors, Thatcham Research, and they said, no, we can't do it. We can't do it to a way that is either safe, reliable. In fact, we just can't do it. So we said, well, what if we gave you a tool that could do this? And I think this picture is one of my favorite pictures. That is 1.5mm polypropylene welded in a single pass. Job done. Retains the characteristics of the original material as if the crack wasn't there. And well, that kind of got people interested. You can, for the very first time, we can weld this bumper. So if you can weld the bumper, that's fantastic. Repair, okay, the reductions in replacements, the reductions in the transport, the packaging, the time, everything, the energy to manufacture replacement parts. Well, then again, what about another way of thinking about it? Not just the repair, but let's think about what does this mean for the manufacturer in the first place? Could you make a bumper in a modular format? Could you make the corners? So in the event of that Merc having a dink, could you just change the end piece? Well, that's a smaller mold, that's cheaper, that's faster, that's easier to do, less transport costs, etc., etc. But that's one market, that's cars, car repair. There are many, many more markets for this equipment. If you approach the idea, the ability to do something you couldn't do yesterday, well, what does that mean for me? Well, reimagine. I know we've all seen this: reduce, repair, reuse, recycle. We've bunged in reimagine. Think of different ways of doing it. If I make the same as I made yesterday, I'll still need seals, I'll still need bolts, I'll still need sealants, I'll still get leaks. If, however, that particular piece of equipment is only there and is never maintained, it's one fit, it does a job like a HVAC vent in a building or a particular part of a boat, it never ever gets looked at again from manufacturing to recycling. Remove the bolts, remove the sealants, remove those issues. Then all of a sudden you've got homogeneous material. It can be chopped up and it can promote end-of-life recycling. You've now got repair options. You've got mass customization. You've got, you can customize anything if you can join it. Well, this takes a different avenue now. So this is what we want to get in touch with designers for. If you're designing something and you think, well, we know designers want to do something different, want to do something in a new way. Well, hang on, maybe this tool is the way to go. Okay, I mentioned it works with polypropylene, polyethylene, etc., but it works with all plastics. We've tried it on bioplastics. We've tried it on the plastics we don't even know. Essentially, the AI is being developed so that the equipment takes all that the knowledge needed to perform a weld by an artisan and by traditional methods, which incidentally, if you're interested, involve using a repurposed paint stripping gun to melt, fuse the plastic and introduce what you hope is the right filler rod. Our equipment just liquefies, not really, but you get the idea, liquefies the joint, renders it so it's now jointless. Okay, so what are we doing with it? What have we done with it? Where are we moving this thing? Our current research got very interested. So yeah, we proved it for cars, we proved it for that market, but we got interest from the water industry via our partner at TWI, who said, well, actually, we have some issues. I mean, yeah, it's been in the press lately, etc. But we've been working with the people the strategists behind where they will go with this. I can't mention names at the moment, but the idea is that, okay, well, if we can join these plastic pipes, this plastic that is forever plastics, as Neil correctly said, make them do a job. If it's a forever plastic, great, let's keep it forever. Let's get it in the ground. Let's have it transporting water and never need to think of it again until it's time to rip it out and put send it for recycling and send a new one in as materials evolve. So we've now got our second Innovate UK grant to develop the controls to make this happen, so that these things can be joined in a more modern, automated way to remove issues like your contaminations and in a dirty trench in the middle of a field. It's a bit of a steep challenge, but we think we're up for it. We're also, there's an example of the Pinweld technology. It's much smaller now. You can hold it in one hand on the end of a robot arm. It makes sense that if you can join plastics, you can make plastics, as I mentioned in my earlier slides. Well, this complements high-value, short-run applications where things can be, fusion, deposition, modeling, 3D printing. You can make things. You couldn't join them before without glues, without things. Well, certain plastics don't glue, as I've covered. So you've gone to the effort to make this fantastic piece of design, only to be hampered by M3 bolts hanging off it and the flanges that are needed. We're hopeful that our research with our partners will actually remove that issue. So if it's of a plastic that can be welded using our kit, and more plastics are coming along all the time, then we're confident that we'll be able to do this. This one is TBA. This summer we miniaturize the equipment because it's so low energy. It benefits from it supports battery power. It supports the AIs being developed anyway. If we can make a package to be bolted, a payload to be bolted by the current robots that are working within the water system, actually mapping the leaks, it makes sense that while you're there mapping it, I want to do something about it. So because our kit will work underwater, because it controls its own environment, and at less than 30 watts, it's not going to cause many problems if it does leak. That said, it's if we can follow this through, if we can provide a solution here, then we're on a world stage, which isn't bad for a little tiny company with currently 3 people in it. So yeah, wish us luck with this. So going back to designers then, where we want to take this, we, like Neil, want to collaborate with in innovation partnerships. We're making the technology, we're developing the AI, we want engineers, we want designers, we want repairers to say, hey, wouldn't it be great if I want to take it in different directions. Automotive are already interested. We've had interest from aerospace, agricultural, aquaculture, just to design things that couldn't, that are just an improvement on what went before. So we'd be very interested in hearing from researchers and designers of where they'd like to take this. So in summary, we think we're going to inspire new product because you can do something you couldn't do yesterday. New opportunities, new routes into circularity. If you can make this thing so it is recyclable, why don't you? Why not? It uses less material anyway. It works all round. Basically, I think the bit is the bit that really works for me, and the way we can exit this is we thrive because we engage with knowledgeable partners. We don't need to know what your application is. We just need to know that we can give you 100% weld. Your team, as long as the designer wants to make what you couldn't make yesterday, hey, we're there, talk to us. So please do come and talk to us. Let's see if we can make a difference here. So this is me, Keven Chappell. Please drop me a line or go to our website. I would say the website is artificially stifled because so much has been going on with Innovate grants and other grants in the last few months. I mean, we only got the last Innovate last month. So that's a big change. So the website doesn't reflect the current where we are. It reflects where we were a year ago. So please bear that in mind before you think, well, this is awful, and move on. But that's me, Keven Chappell, Pinweld.
Thank you very much, Keven. I'm sure no one will think your website is awful, and it's often actually getting work done. The website is not normally a priority, is it? But yeah, thank you so much for the talk. That's absolutely fascinating and great to see so many different applications and potential applications of your technology as well. And I hope you make some good contacts here. And I'm sure, I think I've seen your contact details go up. So I'm sure people can pick up a conversation with you if they've got any ideas of where else it could be applied. But yeah, big round of applause in the comments. I can see some claps coming through. Yeah, really fantastic stuff. So yeah, thank you for coming along and telling us all about it.
Thank you.
Great stuff. We have got 2 or 3 questions in the Q&A section, which I'll go through. I'm just going to invite Neil back on screen. If anyone has any others, then feel free to pop them in as we're chatting. Yeah, Neil, you should have an invite shortly. Lots of applause coming through for you, Keven. Great stuff. Thanks for coming back, Neil. Perfect. So yeah, we've got 2 or 3 questions to get through, and hopefully some more on the way. I will just I'm going to start with one. Actually, I hope no one blames me too much. But I'm just going to start with one that we've got from our team, which just to get a little bit of the backstory on how you came up with the products. Just yeah, maybe a short sort of synopsis of how you came up with the idea, how you've got it to where you've got it to. So Neil, if I could ask you first.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a simple story, but like many stories of startups and innovation, they start with a very simple idea. So I was previously running an AI software company in Bath, and as I started to look forward to the next business, I've become obsessed with seaweed. And thanks to no small part to Set Squared and the network that they could introduce me and my fellow co-founder Murray Kenneth to, we walked into the office of Professor Chris Chuck at the University of Bath, a leading seaweed expert and a man who's now our CTO. We walked into his office and put a plastic punnet with a thin LDPE lidding film on it, on the table, in which there had been fish, and pointed out that the fish inside that plastic punnet had a fridge life of about 8 days at most. But the plastic punnet it arrived in had a total life of up to 1,000 years. And we all 3 looked at each other and thought, we could do better. And so from that relatively simple start, we were able to combine the phenomenal expertise of Professor Chuck, his experience in seaweed, focused predominantly to that point in biofuels, and then increasingly turning towards bioplastics and biomaterials, and the business acumen of myself and my co-founder, Murray Kenneth, and combine that academic excellence and brilliant world-leading science with the sort of experience of how to run a startup that made for a compelling business proposition. And I'm interested to hear your answer, Keven, because I think that's still a very strong combination. If you can bring business acumen together with scientific expertise, it produces world-beating companies based on what are often simple ideas.
Brilliant. Thanks for sharing, Neil. Yeah, over to you, Keven.
Mine is basically, I didn't know I couldn't. I had basically a requirement to to join some plastics. It was a piece of motorcycle that was no longer in production, and I needed to fix it. So I tried, and I completely destroyed it using everything that was available on the market, and I wasn't going to be beaten. So I got hold of second-hand parts out of bins, and I thought, well, there must be a way of doing this. So I just kept going until I realized that, okay, what if I can use the plastic? I just took it back to basics. How is this stuff made in the first place? You heat a polymer up to its the critical temperature. You force it into a mold. You apply pressure. You end up and you cool it within a restriction. You end up with a plastic product. And I thought, well, okay, why don't I use the joint as that same mold? So if I vibrate the tool within the joint but don't push it out the back, that is the mold. So the vibrations allow the plastic itself to become the mold. As long as I can control the heating and the process to make sure that I don't overheat any one place, that I get a weld. And Well, it happened after a very short time. It must have been at least 3 years. But that was it. So, and then I joined with Set Square to take that advice because I didn't have a clue. I knew I needed to know more, so I used studies with the Open University. I needed to run the innovation, so I did a master's in innovation management at the Open University while welding in the day, so that I had a rough idea of what to say when you got into these meetings, because I had no idea. I trained as a maths teacher. I had no idea what to say in innovation meetings. So my work with Set Squared and the Open University sort of helped me along. I mean, enthusiastic amateur, I think, covers it. But Innovate seem to like what we're doing, and other funding is coming along. So I'm looking forward to engaging with people that know more and have been there before. So I'm quite happy to be the enthusiastic amateur. I've got it as far as I can. Let's get the right people in now to take it to the next stage.
Fantastic. No, that's great. Well, 2 great adverts for Set Squared as well there, I think. So yeah, brilliant to hear that. Cool. So we have a question from Ellen Bassam, which I'll put on screen. So what's the biggest legislative or regulatory barrier that you currently face to scale up in the UK, but also globally? It's a really great question. So yeah, over to you, Neil.
I put up that quote on from Wayne Gretzky about skating to where the puck will be, and I think nowhere is it more apposite than in looking at the challenges of addressing legislative hurdles and opportunities as well created by legislation in this sort of market. Inevitably, innovation runs ahead of where legislation then starts to catch up. And I think it's very easy for any startup or innovator to develop a solution for today's problem, only to find out that legislation has rendered it less, not more, possible to bring to market. So for us, I think there is, I perceive an ongoing bias towards fossil fuel plastics in single-use packaging, particularly around the myth of recycling being a complete and holistic solution. I genuinely believe recycling is important. It is part of the solution, but it can only be one part. I just come back from a business trip to West Africa. I was in Ghana, where a lot of drinking water is got into the hands of the people who need it using small polyethylene water pouches rather than the more expensive bottles that we're so used to here. And 82 billion of those water pouches are used every year in Ghana, one relatively medium-sized West African country. Imagine that number multiplied across Africa. There, of course, there is certainly no recycling capability of any meaningful scale. There's not even any refuse collection. So it's a myth to think that even if we in the UK could start to address the problems, and we're not doing so particularly well here, that we could in somewhere as far apart as Africa. So to circle back on the question, Mike, I think it's to better understand the important role of alternative materials and stop legislating just to force recycling rates to increase. So, for example, there's a plastic tax in the UK introduced only last year, which requires all plastics to contain a minimum of 30% of recycled content in order to avoid the plastic tax itself. Well, there is no exemption made for biomaterials. And if the objective was to try to increase recycling rates, then that's the wrong tool to go about it. And time again, whether in the EU or the UK, whether in the US or Asia, we see legislation that, whilst probably initially conceived of to try and drive up recycling or drive down plastic use, is in fact marginalising fossil fuel plastic, alternative materials in favour of fossil fuel plastics.
Brilliant. Yeah, thank you. Great stuff. I'm not sure, Kevin, have you got a view on this question?
Well, ours is our view, really, the legislative and regulative barriers almost are flipped for us. The barriers for instance, medical plastics, you cannot introduce any other material into a joint for medical plastics. The same regulation exists in water supply. You cannot introduce something that hasn't gone through the system, hasn't gone through testing, years of testing. Well, because our equipment only fuses what was already there, doesn't add anything else, we automatically qualify. Unfortunately, welcome to the world of red tape. Because it's not been heard of and because no tests have been done, we can't start. So we're on a bit of a treadmill. We can't actually use our equipment because it doesn't fit in any pigeonhole. So that's one of the reasons for proving the automotive repair is a market that very few people are actually focused on. It's almost like it's very important to the people in it, and it's important that we do something about it. But big business wasn't interested in repair. They want manufacture, they want installation. We had to prove it in a way that to get traction. So yeah, the legislation doesn't support us, but it doesn't really hinder us once we can get over that first hurdle.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you for that. Great question, Alan. So we've got two left. I am going to just we've got three actually. Sorry. Yeah, we'll go with Luke's question. So a quick one for Neil, if that's okay. So, what are the main challenges of growing seaweed at scale? E.g., how fast does it grow? And he says thanks so much for the talk.
Great question. So right now, seaweed farming and all our seaweed is farmed seaweed rather than wild harvested. The academic research into which continues to raise some potential long-term questions around excessive wild harvesting. So all our seaweed is farmed seaweed. It's grown deliberately in order to be harvested for human food, for cattle food, as well as for a range of biomaterials, including our own single-use packaging use. Kelp, which is the most well-known of most seaweed species, and of course the one from which we get our name, is a phenomenal plant. In the right conditions, it can grow up to a half a metre a day. So it's got a phenomenal growth rate. The real challenge is building out the infrastructure to allow us to be able to make the most of this incredible plant, sequestering carbon dioxide as it grows, deacidifying the ocean, and helping fish to breed. And so as European, UK seaweed farming grows, so we'll be able to move the centre of gravity for global seaweed farming from East Asia, where it currently resides, across Vietnam, Indonesia, the Philippines, China, and the like, more towards Europe and UK and Irish waters, France, Netherlands, even a country like the Faroe Islands, once entirely dependent on fishing for its economy, is now increasingly turning to seaweed farming as the fish stocks die away, and finding that in seaweed farming they've got a really strong, robust economic growth opportunity, as well as one that makes environmental sense. So it's the challenges of being able to grow that whilst climate change affects growing waters, increases storms which can devastate seaweed farms, and finding the growing number of uses for seaweed driving up prices, but making sure that those farms increase capacity and manage to keep access at a reasonable price.
Fantastic. Yeah, it's fascinating stuff. Thank you for the question there, Luke. We've got one for Keven as well. Do you worry that by finding ways to fix plastics, we might end up using more of them? And how do you see that conundrum?
Excellent question. Yeah. Well, essentially, what we're looking at, the plastics are already here. So if we can keep the ones that are here and are necessary for the various applications, whether it's safety on a public transport, whether it's part of a, it's there for a reason. Until it can be replaced with something more easily recycled, maybe it's bio-based, maybe it's a different material entirely. If we can keep those oil-based plastics in service and then make them easier to recycle and improve and customize, so that as the technology of materials advances and more materials fit the circularity route, if our technology can help that accelerate so that we can get there quicker, because at the moment I've met plenty of people that are working on new plastics, but they're only really any good. They've generally got a limitation, like this one can't be joined, or this one it ages in sunlight, etc., etc. So if we can help accelerate it and so that people can join the things when they do make them, make those components, get them out there, keep them repaired. So I don't think I could ask for more.
Brilliant. No, thank you very much for that. So I think that might be all we have time for on the questions. So apologies to Gary. I know you've got a question there. I will put that to Neil over email and try and find a way of getting that back to you. But yeah, I just wanted to say thank you for firstly fielding those questions. Hopefully there's some good ones in there for you. And yeah, again, thank you for coming along and telling us all about what are two absolutely fantastic businesses that I'm sure we're going to all follow and support as much as we can. And as we said before, do feel free to reach out to Neil and Keven if you want to continue the conversation. And yeah, hopefully we'll see you go from strength to strength. So thank you, guys. We'll say goodbye to you now, and I'm going to bring Hannah back on screen. So thank you very much, and yeah, I'm sure there'll be more applause in the comments. And yeah, enjoy the rest of your afternoons.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you, Mike, and all at Green Tech Southwest. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you so much. Cheers.
Mike, I don't know if you know, but I'm up in the wing. Oh, yeah.
There you are.
Hanging in the sidelines there. Fantastic. Cool. Wasn't that good? Oh,
Yeah,
really
brilliant.
enjoyed that. I learned
Absolutely
so
brilliant.
much. And I feel very inspired. I think that's why we wanted to do this event, wasn't it, on plastics? It's so often that plastics are seen as a real negative and a real, anti-sustainability. But both of those stories, both of those approaches really turn that narrative on its head. So yeah, thanks again, Neil and Keven. That was really inspiring, and it's good to hear that better things are possible. I think, isn't it? Cool. All right. Well, so I'll just pop up some slides. So we aim to finish by past. So that is the end of the talks today. I like to finish our events we call it bookending it. We have an intro and we have an outro. And so my job is to do a little bit of an outro now and just kind of let you know what else is going on within the Bristol area, within the green tech space a little more generally. So obviously we just heard from the fantastic Neil and Keven. I hope you're able to keep a track of their amazing stories and innovations. And yeah, well done, Set Squared. I mean, what fantastic innovations that organization is supporting. So moving on to other events of interest in and around the place. So there are a number of other networks that we love to signpost people to that have been very supportive of our meetup and are just really, really great communities or places to be. Many of you will probably hear me talk about climateaction.tech pretty much every Green Tech Southwest. If you're working in the tech sector, more specifically the digital tech sector, I'd highly recommend checking out climateaction.tech. It's a global community of over 9,000 workers, all united in taking action to tackle climate change within their organizations. So it's a great place to ask questions and find out about things. For those of you based in the UK and more particularly Bristol, we also love to talk about the Future Leap Network, fondly known as FLAM, who are one of the largest green business networks in the UK. And on the 15th of June, they have a Festival of Sustainable Business exhibition, which is happening in the Paintworks, which I believe is free to attend and should be very inspiring, much like what we heard today from Neil and Keven. It's meant to inspire people and show that a better future is in fact possible. So check that out if you're in the area. We've got a couple of other sort of shorter, smaller events. We heard from the Green Software Foundation back in December from Sarah Bergman, who talked about how to measure the CO2 emissions of software. On Monday, June the 5th, so that's next Monday, the Green Software Foundation are running an event for UN World Environment Day, which is all about the green software revolution. So if you enjoyed Sarah's talk or you'd like to hear more about the work of the Green Software Foundation, check that one out. Hopping back to Bristol, there is a People, Planet and Pint meetup. You've got to say that one. You've really got to enunciate that one. If you're in Bristol, Tuesday the 6th of June, Mike will probably be heading to that one too, I think, or Mike often does. It's more of a general sustainability meetup rather than being tech focused, but a lot of really good people do head there. And yeah, Laurent, thank you for mentioning that there is one in Bath as well. Actually, the same format of event happens all over the UK. And I also noticed as one has popped up in Amsterdam as well. So if you're around and feel like making some face-to-face connections, check it out. We will make these slides available, by the way, in the write-up, and everything that you can see underlined will be links, so you can hop off and explore anything you're interested in. And the last event we wanted to signpost you to is by a group we're very fond of, the Working in Sustainable Technology group, based over in Cambridge. On Thursday, the 8th of June, they'll have an online event all about green finance. Green finance, often overlooked as a tool for improving sustainability, but it has real merit, so worth checking out. And so we wrap up with our next event. Our next speaker-led event is on Wednesday, the 12th of July. We are absolutely stoked that Dale Vince will be joining us for a fireside chat. So me, Mike and Ellen will be having a bit of a chat with Dale, and we'll be asking everyone for their questions ahead of that time too. So if you're in Bristol, you can join us in person at the Engine Shed between 6 p.m. and 8 p.m. If you are not, you're able to join us online. We work really, really hard to make sure that our hybrid events are just as enjoyable for those online as in person. So you won't be treated as a sort of second-class citizen. If you do join us online, you'll be able to fully participate as well. So we hope you're able to join us for that. And that leaves us to say thank you so much for coming today. Your feedback means a lot. Please do respond to the meetup. How was this event notification? If you enjoyed it, you know, we do appreciate good reviews. It makes us feel happy. We do this on a voluntary basis, so it's nice to get a nice review back from people. And if you've got any other kind of feedback, always welcome to email us, greentechsw@gmail.com, or find us on LinkedIn. We still have a Twitter account, but we're using it a bit less these days. But anyway, we wrap up there and say thanks again, everyone, for coming, for the great questions, for engaging in the chat, for being present and finding time to come and learn about these topics today. Go well. And we really, really hope to see you again.